Here is a very challenging image to mask. You are going to get this a lot in your career. You'll get a beautiful model against a green screen, and then you will be asked to put a different background behind the model, or maybe composite the model into a different project. And the challenge here is you have all of these stray hairs. You see them floating about the model's head. And so the challenge then is, how do you separate her from that green screen but still get all of those little hairs, keep those floating around her head so that it looks natural. And let me warn you, it is going to be a lot of work, but luckily you don't have to just rely on painting by hand every individual strand. We do have some shortcuts. So first, what I'm going to do is use the color range selector. So I'm going to go up to the top of the screen where it says select, and then I'm going to click color range. Now you have this little eyedropper tool here, and what you can do is select anywhere that's kind of like a solid color, like green, and because green is really the color that we want to take out of the image. So I'm going to start with green, and you'll notice that it's selected, it's showing the selection in white. It's selected all of those pigments of green, but there are various shades of green that we still haven't selected, especially over here. So now you have to go to the eyedropper tool that has the little plus sign next to it, and now you're going to add to the selection by selecting all of the areas that haven't been chosen yet. So I can either click here on my representation of the mask, or I can even click on the picture itself. It doesn't matter. So still with the add to selection icon clicked, I click in the corner, and eventually we have a nice clean mask. We're not done yet though. So everything that is white has been selected. So I'm going to hit OK. And actually we can also play around with the fuzziness. See, you can see that we can take out some detail here. We can also add a little bit more detail here. So because of the next tool that we're going to use, I'm going to just increase the fuzziness a little bit because it will make the next process a little bit easier. So I'm going to click OK. And now we've made a selection, but we want to invert this selection because we don't want to select the green background. We want to select everything but the green background. So I'm going to go Shift Command I, and now we've inverted the selection, so now we've selected the model. Now I'm going to go up to the top of the screen to select, and I'm going to click Refine Edge. This brings up the Refine Edge dialog box, which has a lot of new features starting with CS5. One is this Smart Radius feature, and also this very cool little brush adjustment, which we're going to get to in a second. Let's zoom into the picture. And now you can see we've got a little bit of kind of a crunchy edge here, where we really want more of a smooth type of hair that looks more natural. So I'm going to start with my Refine Radius tool here and paint and see if that helps any. We've noticed it's actually taken out some of the hair, which is good for maybe things down here that we want to smooth out, but we're going to actually use the erase refinements and see what happens next. So what we want to do is work on these hairs until they have more of a natural type of quality. Some of this is just looking very, very kind of jagged, so we may want to either gray those out, going back to the Refine Radius tool, because that might end up looking better than the kind of jagged edge here. And it's not really erasing the hair, it's just sort of like graying out that selection a little bit. We can also play with the Smart Radius and see what kind of different effects we get with this. Just wait for it to kind of crunch through. And so go back and forth between your Refine Radius tool and your Erase Refinements tool until you get an edge to the hair that looks nice and natural. You know, you can even increase your brush size just like you would with any brush. See, this is looking nice with the larger brush. We're kind of bringing back some of these strands here. And the goal is sort of to get the hair to look kind of grayish around these edges rather than so crunchy and black. Actually, we're getting a really nice look here with the larger brush. I think it helps a lot. Notice we went a little too far on her skin there, so I'm going to use the Erase Refinements tool, a little bit smaller, to kind of fix that. And again, I'm going to use a big brush. And see, this is going to look a whole lot better once we put her on a different background. So we want to bring back some of the hair that's here. And this is going to take you probably a long time as you kind of go back and forth and play with the settings, but the result is going to look very, very nice. And now, you know, on these areas where you went too far and kind of made it look a little bit too crunchy, you can go back and kind of fix. Here we put some white in her hair. We don't want that. So I'm just going back and fixing these little areas. See, look how nice and smooth this looks here. Let's fix that. And here we've got a little bit too much gray. But now we went too far. Now normally I would probably spend a whole lot more time on this, but because you know you don't want to watch me spend 2 hours working on her hair, we're going to call this good for now. If you're interested, you could also view the mask in different modes. So you can view it on a color, you can view it on black. So the black actually shows some of the color that has been left in from the reflection of the green screen. So that's good to see. On white, you can see the mask itself, so you can see that's the actual mask. And you can see how it's going to look on the layer. I actually liked the black because it really showed the green areas. So if you really want to get rid of that green, you can click on the decontaminate colors box, and then we can kind of adjust there. The thing is, with this decontaminate colors, it's actually going to create a new image, which might be fine since we don't want to go back to our original mask, but it's going to be a destructive editing technique, and as we've talked about through the term, you kind of want to avoid destructive editing. But because it really helped to get rid of that excess green, I think this is a choice that we want to make. So then you'll hit OK. And see, it's made a new layer and it's placed her nicely on the background. And now what's really great is you can make a new document. Let's do, you know, a nice paper, and you can now place her on any sort of background that you want. So watch, I can easily just click and drag her onto a new document, and then I could put whatever background I want behind her. So that's the color range selector along with the refine edge dialog box. And so it's very useful for, you know, selecting a green screen background or any solid colored background and using it to mask.